Andy Hudson here with 401k Champions. As you're mapping out your plans for 2024 and your prospecting efforts, I'd like to show you where we're seeing a 50% greater result in both plan count and revenue. Let me show you what we're seeing. Every year, this is 2024, this is 2025. Every year we sit down and most advisors will come up with a list of 50 plans. They'll have several centers of influence that they'll grab lunch with or have a beer, coffee, whatever, and check in periodically. Some way through some part of the way through the year, they'll stop working this list and they'll start working with another list for the second half of the year. And the results that we typically see out of this are reasonable. You'll pick up 1 to 2 plans. If you dial this number up, if you were to double it to 100 or 200 or 400, obviously this number would go up. And I'll talk about that in step 2. But typically the results will be 1 to 2. And then when you go to next year, the following year, so 2025, you would most advisors cross off this list because they've stopped getting results. They're just getting voicemail. They're not getting any callbacks. They're not getting any emails back. And they start up with a new list and centers of influence, and they repeat it. So when we put this together, 6 months goes by, they cross off the list, they start a new list. So by the time you get 2 years in, 3 years in of this crossing off list, you, in a 3-year period of time, which I'm going to show you in a minute, where we show the 50% increase in plan count and revenue, you've gone through 6 lists over 3 years. And that really impacts the results that you're getting for a couple of reasons. Let me show you a little bit better way to do this. All right, let me explain to you why we get a better result by using this process instead of the process I just showed you. So you would start out with 50 plans, so we're using the same numbers, and you would adjust this for whatever your numbers are. You may be calling into or reaching out to more plans than that or fewer plans than that. Totally up to you. Centers of influence, maybe you get some referrals from existing clients. That's step 1. Step 2 is to figure out, how will I reach out? How often will I reach out? And what will I say when I reach out? And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And then you work this entire process, you work this list the entire year. Instead of switching lists, you'll typically get 2 to 3 plans in the first year. In the second year, you'll get 3 to 4 plans, and then you'll get 4 to 5 plans in the third year. And if we look at it from a revenue standpoint, so these are plans. So even if we do, $5,000, let's say your minimum fee is $5,000 to work with a qualified plan. And this is a plan these are all minimum fee plans. So we do 2 plans at $5,000, gives us $10,000 in revenue. We find that plans typically stay on the books for about 7 years. So we'll do times 7 years, and that will be $70,000 in revenue. And I'm using the low numbers. In the second year, we'll do 3 plans at $5,000 is $15,000 times 7 is 105. Right, 105,000. And then in the third year, we would do 4 plans. Times 7 is equal to 140,000. So when you look at this, we did 2 plans, 3 plans, 5. So that's 9 plans. And I'm using the lower number here. So we did 9 plans, and we did, 315,000 in revenue. And if I compare that to the other scenario where we did 1 to 2 plans a year, even if I use year 1, year 2, year 3, I use 2 plans, 2 plans, and 2 plans, right? So I did 6 plans versus over here I did 9 plans. That's where we're getting 50% more plan count. And our revenue on this would be 2 plans would be 10K, so 70,000 times 3 would be 210,000 in revenue. So when I look at 210,000 versus 315, you're looking at roughly 50% greater revenue number. Not to mention the cross-selling opportunities. So why is this number why is this so much more effective? And I think it's so much more effective when we factor in when we reach out in step 2. So how will I reach out? How often will I reach out, and what will I share? You have to remember that only 8% of the plans that you're calling on, 8% of the 50, are actually in motion looking to make a change. So if I'm calling on them, and the logic is, you've seen the stats that it's not until the 12th and 13th contact that most of the time a sale is made. For the 92%, the plans that aren't looking to move, it doesn't matter if you call them 20 times, they're not looking to make a change. Increasing the number of touches only increases the result to the 8%, if that makes sense. So how will I reach out? How often will I reach out? And what will I ask? I have to adjust my ask from, would you like a meeting? Can we benchmark your plan? Because 92% of your prospects, that won't be relevant. So I have to figure out. So really, the 50% greater result comes from 2 places. It comes from not changing the list. That's critical because it gives us more contact over multiple years. This is 3 years. We've had advisor clients that have done it over 10 years and seen tremendous results. But I have to change the conversation when I do reach out and make it valuable and appropriate for the plans, the 92% of the plans in my list that are not going to look, they're not in the process of looking to make a change to the plan right now. So when you do that, those 2 things, you're not doing any more work or any less work between the first scenario that I showed you, the traditional model. You're not doing any more or less work with this model. It's just how many results, what are the results from the work, from the effort, from the time that you've put in. And then the third model, the third step here, when you start to get traction down here and you start to build a book, at some point you're going to start to feel stretched because it's going to be difficult to deliver services to the existing clients and still find time to get out, find new clients, prospect, present services, and grow your practice. So step 3 is we go from a pro model to a proprietary model. And by doing that, it helps us stand out against other top advisory teams that we're competing with for business. It also allows us to streamline services. When we go to that proprietary model, now I can go back and deliver similar services, similar service schedules to all of my entire book of clients, as opposed to how we sold at the point of sale based on what their interests were, what they, record keeper that they wanted, were they big about participant outcomes or not? Do they want to meet once a year or 4 times a year? All those variables, you start to put a sizable book of business together, and it really takes you as the original, salesperson that has that original conversation and understanding of the original conversation to be able to deliver the service. So by moving from a pro model to a proprietary model, now we go to we kind of standardize services around best practices and those types of things. We actually increase, because the consistency, all of that goes up. We actually deliver a better service, and it also allows us to train up our team members so that we can get out from underneath of all of that and go out and grow our practice. So going back to where we started here, as you're thinking through 2024 and you're mapping out, what are you going to do from a prospecting? What are you going to do to grow your 401k book of business? Click on the link below and you can download this exercise here and think through it for yourself. I would suggest 2 things. I would suggest don't switch lists, work the same list over multiple calendar years. That will help you. And then think through your content and make sure that your content, when you're reaching out, there's value to both the 8% that are looking to move the plan and also, more importantly, to the 92%, because we want to nurture them until they have a triggering event at some point and need to make a change to the plan. We want to be at the front of the line at that point. So I hope you found that helpful. And the next step is for you to map out your own plan for next year and your list and what you're going to, how often, how you're going to reach out and what you're going to be sharing. I've included a link below where you can download this worksheet to help you work through that process. If you have some questions around, you'll probably have some questions around step 2 and step 3. What type of content? How do I share content? Where do I get content? What content is valuable? All that kind of good stuff. Step 3, there's some nuance to making your services proprietary, to standing out against other top advisory teams, to building some efficiencies and things like that. So if you need some help around there, reach out to us. There's a link below. You can schedule a time for us to talk through your specifics and your questions to see if we could possibly help you using the 401k Advisor Playbook. I'm Andy Hudson with 401k Champions.